Hey, what's going on? What's going on? So I guess Gary Russell and Javante Tank Davis are supposed to be fighting each other. I guess someone that usually is supposed to be an inside source, I guess, had come out and he said that that these two are supposedly in talks and that they're supposed to fight by the summer. So people are basically talking about it, about is this something that's going to happen? Are we going to see these two guys fight? And for me, I would have to say no. Don't believe anything that's this source, whatever his name is. I would have to call it 100% bullish. And the only reason I'm going to call it bullish is just because like I always say, I go by the way certain organizations run and how things happen with them. And when it comes to PBC, they don't have really no leaks like that. They don't. It's for whatever, I don't know how they do it, but everything is usually airtight when it comes to them. You never really hear about people talking about, hey, rumors of, these two fights are going to happen, or this is supposed to be getting done, this is supposed to be negotiated. You never hear that. When it comes to PBC, it's just, boop, all of a sudden, just the information just pops out. No one was talking about Ugas and Errol Spence fighting each other. Everybody thought because of what had happened that fight wasn't going to happen. That, Ugas was going to fight these other guys. Is Errol Spence going to have to fight his IBF mandatory? Who is that going to be? What's going on with with Terence Crawford? Is he negotiating? Because some people were thinking that they were negotiating with Terence Crawford, and I was saying that's BS. The fact that this guy's out here, talking about, I'm in the ocean, blah blah blah, all this other stuff. I'm looking for the big fish. Right there told me that fight wasn't happening, because when there's PBC's negotiating with people, everything is quiet on the Western Front. All parties are quiet. When we saw with Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao, when that got announced, that just got announced. We were talking about, people were talking about Manny Pacquiao fighting Terence Crawford or Ryan Garcia, all this other BS. Then all of a sudden, boom, that information just popped out. This is what usually happens with PBC fighters, with the PBC events. So especially when it comes to somebody like Javante Tank Davis, who's working with Mayweather Promotions and Ellerbe and Floyd Mayweather, absolutely not. There's no, quote, leaks. You know what I'm saying? They're not getting no kind of information like that. Not to mention, we still don't know what's going on with Kambosos. We still don't know. And I still think there's a very good chance that Kambosos versus Javante Tank Davis is going to be next. I still think that's the biggest money fight. That's a fight that's going to generate the most amount of money for Kambosos, period. So due to that, I still think that's probably going to be the fight that gets done. And everybody's talking about him fighting Devin Haney, him fighting all these other guys. I wouldn't be shocked if all of a sudden the information just pops up, official Kambosos versus Tank in May, June, or whatever it might be. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened whatsoever. And I'm still thinking that's going to be the next fight. So I don't see them doing that at all. Not to mention, Russell has a fight coming up, in the next month or two. You don't know what's going to happen in that fight. What if he gets hurt in that fight? You don't know. Anything could happen in that fight. Who would Tank be fighting next? What, Tank's gonna sit around and wait for Russell? And then I don't see it. I think, and some people are thinking like, oh, maybe because of, quote, the numbers with the Cruz fight and this and that, maybe that would make them do something like that. No, I don't think so whatsoever. They put in over 15,000 plus people on seats. They did a substantial amount of money on the gate. And when people were talking about rumors about the numbers being low, Espinoza laughed. He laughed. He's like, 100,000. Like, we did that on digital sales alone. That means on that Showtime app that you can order things on, they did almost 100,000 pay-per-views just on that alone. So he's laughing. Like, they think we did what? Okay. You know what I mean? Amused by the numbers that are coming out. So yeah, I don't think that's the case. And not to mention, he was a late replacement regardless. So, of course, yeah, Ish, your replacement isn't going to do as good as what you thought your regular price fight would be, like Ugas versus Manny Pacquiao. That didn't do anything close to, I'm sure, to what they thought would happen if Manny Pacquiao fought Errol Spence. What do you do, like 300, 200,000 pay-per-views, 300, somewhere around there with Ugas? What do you think that fight pay-per-view would have been if he fought Errol Spence? That would have been a 600,000 to 800,000 plus pay-per-view fight if those two had fought, But they're not going to expect the numbers to be the same. So I don't see that. I honestly don't see that happening. I don't think that's what's going to be next. And if it was going to be next, it'd be a situation where it just boom, all of a sudden we just find out. You know, I guess what they were trying to do before was they were trying to have Colbert fight Russell, I guess at 130 pounds, but the WBA is having the whole tournament thing where they're trying to consolidate all their belts. So obviously Colbert's going to have to fight the super champion, whatever, the other champion, in order to consolidate those belts so they can have just one champion. You know, that's what they're doing. So I could see a situation where maybe Russell wins this fight and then maybe goes up to fight Colbert. Maybe something like that. I could see that happening. Or him stay at his weight class just due to the fact I think a big fight would be against him and, what the hell's that dude's name? He just lost to Felton and he's moving up. I forget his name. But he's moving up to 126 pounds. He's coming off Figueroa. You know, and he's coming off a bout where he lost, but some people think he won. And regardless if they think he lost or won, he gave a very good account of himself against one of the best fighters in the world. Yes, Felton's one of the best fighters in the world, you know, and he did that. So now he's moving up in weight. He's a monster. He's huge, and he's not going to have any issue fighting Russell whatsoever. So I can see those fighting each other. I could see Russell versus Santa Cruz fighting each other, you know. So Russell could have probably a big year, but this whole thing of him fighting Gervonta Tank Davis next during the summer, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I could see them even going with a Cruz rematch, which would still be a good fight, you know, where you're going to do big pay-per-views because people think now that Cruz can beat Gervonta Tank Davis. Almost like a Maidana, Floyd Mayweather, Maidana 1, leading into Floyd Mayweather, Maidana 2. So that could be that could happen. I could easily see that happening. You know, them doing that rematch or him fighting whatever the hell his name is. You know, who was supposed to be the first opponent. I don't know why I'm forgetting everybody's name this damn morning. But it is what it is. But, you know, against him. He could fight him. The guy who he was supposed to fight against. Lomero, whatever his name is. Rolly. He could fight Rolly next. I could even see that happening. Now it'll be two Mayweather Promotions fighters fighting against each other. I could see that bout happening. You know, but you know, there's a lot of different things that could happen, but as far as just the information coming out and their quote being rumors or whatever, that stuff, no. I don't believe any of that stuff when it comes to PBC at all. Because I don't know how they do it. I have no idea how they do it, but they don't have any leaks. You know, I guess other promoters, they like putting out their information, putting out the tea leaves because they want people to start talking. Somebody like Eddie Hearn, he likes information out there. So he'll give people information, give them little tea leaves so they can start talking about things. That's what he does. That's how he flows his business. PBC doesn't act like that. They don't do things like that. They get things done and then it just gets announced out of nowhere. You know, it just gets announced out of freaking nowhere. You know, even with the Costano fight against Charlo, no one really knew if that rematch was going to happen or not. Everything was kind of just quiet on the Western Front. You know, then all of a sudden, just boom, they hit the information. Okay, this person's stepping to the side. You know, they're allowing him to do this, whatever, and boom, they got the fight done. You know, so, well, you know, I guess we'll see. You know, I guess we'll see, but I don't see that fight. I don't see that bout happening next whatsoever, at all. You know, but only time will tell. But for now, like, subscribe, share. I'm out.